And start this call. Hello. Beth, I see your little swirly signs, but I don't see your face.
Or hear your voice.
Or hear your voice, yes.
How come I'm not showing up there?
I see you.
Okay, I just saw it in the participants, so I was like, that's weird.
I know, yours actually says Christine Lai on it.
You know what? Maybe I clicked the link that you guys had in the email. Maybe I should do the one that's in my calendar.
No, that's okay. I'm going to rename you. Okay, I have that ability. Unless you want to be Christine, but then you have to be like.
I'm not geoflexible like Christine.
But you have to be like super organized and.
I'm organized, but not geoflexible.
Wordsmithy. So, okay. So, happy June. It's a cloudy day in Kansas City. And how is everyone else arriving today?
Good. Oh, am I muted? No, I'm not yet. Okay.
Pretty good.
All right. So.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Should we ask an opening question to get the ball rolling? Oh.
Got another Christine.
Gonna rename Tyler as well.
Yeah. What is Tyler showing up as today?
Today I'm Christine Lai.
Oh, you're Christine too. I
Yes.
came in as Christine Lai.
Two calls ago, I was Beth.
That's really interesting. I didn't know. I took it out of the calendar that we have on ESHIP goals. So I'm wondering if she used her name on something, and so that's where the link. Oh, look, I like that. That's cool. All right. I'm going to put together the Brady Bunch look. So, storytelling. What's a good prompt for you? I would love to hear. Tell me how you're doing and what's something interesting that you've read recently. And I will popcorn to Jeff.
Oh God. Just trying to think, what am I been reading? What's interesting? Well, we just finished up a pitch competition last night, so I am coming down from the stress of that and looking to take some time off, partly this week and next week. That's the main thing. What have I read? I can't remember what I've been reading. I'm gonna have to pass on that, and I am going to go to Tivi as next.
Thank you. So just how we're doing. Well, I just got in the house from 100-degree weather outside, so I'm just trying to cool down. What am I reading? I'm gonna cheat a little bit. So I'm about to start reading a book about the history of Black Wall Street in North Carolina. One of my Jeff, you I saw that. So there's a book, I don't remember the name of it, it's in my room, but it's basically about the Black pioneers behind the NC Mutual Life Insurance Company that started it in 1898. Because one of my clients is a co-working space that's built within the NC Mutual Life building. And so I'm going to be reading about the history of the company to try to incorporate that into some of our storytelling around, why creating a more equitable entrepreneurial ecosystem in Durham, North Carolina is important, and, using that history of that to build a fund.
Especially in that
what
space.
We're doing.
Yeah, awesome.
So I'm about to start reading that. I just got it. So, yep. And I'll go to Tyler.
Hi, I'm Tyler. I am good. Busy, sorry. Trying to, whatever. Business goes on. I'm good. And what am I reading? I picked up, I found an Asimov I've never read before, which was funny. I never knew of a trilogy called The Foundation, which is kind of cool. So it was an old book in the back corner of an old bookstore and missing its front cover. And yeah, so I'm reading that and just kind of not thinking about anything else right now. Enough self-help books and how to do this, and so I'm letting my creativity flow. And with that, I will talk to the coolest lady in Erie, PA. Beth.
Hey, thanks. I'm okay here, better than I was a few weeks ago. It's sunny and beautiful here today, so that's awesome. And I'm trying to reboot my computer so I can see all you guys. I'm on my phone at the moment. But anyway, I'm just finishing a book called Miracles, and it's pretty cool. It talks about the existence of miracles and the argument that they do exist and have existed for all time. And then I'm starting to read a book called 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel that I got as a gift for helping some research with Ball State and Florida State University. And is there anyone else to popcorn to? Celia, I'll popcorn to you.
I have to take myself off mute in order to do that. Thank you. I'm at the foundation this week, and we are working through the whole of all things ESHIP. So behind me, there are these boards of people who signed on to commit to stuff. There's a whole box full of canvases. I haven't read any of them. Okay, which is good, I guess. We keep rereading the ESHIP Summit playbook, and I'm going to put a link here in the chat, which is as we're talking about, oh wait, there's another Beth. Oh, Beth is rebooting her computer. Yay! Okay, so this is a blog post by Chris Hively of Techstars.
I know
talking
Chris.
about what does give first mean and the complexity of all of those things. I just finished listening to, and I bought a copy of, this is Rachel Hollis's book, Girl, Wash Your Face, which was like really great information. And it's about the lies that we hear and tell ourselves and how to work through that and the things that helped her. And I actually bought this for our friend Tiffany, who could not be at the conference. So it has, Rachel Hollis is Christian, and it talks about her relationship with God. And I'm not a terribly religious person, but I value what she brings to the equation. But I love that voice, so I figured that would also be a nice thing to send to Tiffany along with a copy of the ESHIP playbook, since she wasn't able to make it to the conference. So there's that. Tivy, there's a whole bunch of books on Black Wall Street, Tulsa, which is very interesting if you correlate the two. And Faye and I have been talking about discussions on how that would be really interesting if we could get forward cities into Tulsa to have Durham and Tulsa talk about their respective Black Wall Street connections.
Nice.
Just as a quick thing before we delve into the rest of it, only because you talked about Isaac Asimov. There's an article that I posted on my Facebook page. It was something that I wrote. Something that my friend, Professor Laura Stevens, wrote about her call with Isaac Asimov when she was a teenager growing up and trying to find answers, and she was encouraged by her parents to just go and ask, which is sometimes a really hard thing to learn. Like, you don't know the answers? Go and ask somebody who does. And then she's like, but how can I contact Isaac Asimov? It makes no sense, but then you just go and do it, right? It's like showing up one day and asking, I don't know, who can we ask? We can ask Victor Huang something. And maybe we didn't think that was possible, but I can walk down the hall and ask him if he was here. So storytelling, post ESHIP, as we launch into the deliver phase. And I know that there are a bunch of questions, some of the things that we're working through as community activators in support of the community on how we go next. And basically next isn't necessarily waiting for us to figure out. Obviously, there are some people, Jeff, who said, I just need to have this thing happen, so we're just going to do it and create the thing and make it happen. And that's absolutely 100% fabulous, because things need to happen and they don't need to wait for an organization, a foundation, a bunch of people who feel like it's time. They just need to happen. How we can support those are some of the things we talk about. We're formulating a plan, which will be shared at the end of this week with the ESHIP champions on some of the things that we're thinking about and how to host these calls going forward, the goal calls, on and how the engagement happens and how we can work with visibility, alignment, coordination or cooperation, and hopefully collaboration. So that will be shared. And the reason it's shared first with the ESHIP champions is to get a little bit of a feedback from people that are deep in the trenches, and then shared with a wider community, because we would like to get some input on how that is. If we roll it out in mass and we get a little bit more input, which is really important. And so that's a special benefit that we have with having ESHIP champions who are involved in all different parts of the goal work and stuff. So that being said, this group is a bit different, as you all are, because storytelling is infused in all of the goals in some way, shape, or form. And it's integral as a driver for things to be shared out as internally, right? The connected networks part, the collaborative culture part. We storytellers help form culture in the stories that we share. The stories that we don't share also have, like the Black Wall Street story for Tulsa was not taught in schools until about a decade ago, right? It happened in 1921. It's almost the 100th anniversary. And for a big chunk of time, nobody talked about it. Stories that we don't tell are important as the stories that we do tell. The lens that we tell them, case studies for metrics, and PSAs for universal support. Those are, inwardly told stories and outwardly told stories. I don't need to say that in length. I'm probably saying that more for the sake of the video that we're recording, so that other people who are new to this can hear this. So my question for you in this group is, because it's not where we talk, we can talk about projects. So one part of what we're envisioning the calls going forward to be is having a little bit of an update time in the agenda, so people can talk about the respective things that they're working on, right? So if you're doing a storytelling hub, for example, or if you're doing a podcast or something like that, this is probably a good place to share the information so that you can maybe grow further connections, get some input. Hey, I've got a great person for you to interview or talk to or whatever, right? Or here's a subject I've always wanted to read about. I think that it's helpful for this group, sharing projects in that way. What else can this be? And one of the suggestions that we're putting together is having content, I want to say content experts, but people who are doing the thing come and share. So if there was, I'm making this up, if there was somebody who's involved in Medium and we got them to come and talk about some of the trends that they're seeing. Or if we were to talk to somebody at WordPress to see what things are happening, or one of you, or like Alistair, who's in Goal 5 and doing metrics, just wrote a book. So he's telling a story in some way. And if we had Alistair come and do just a 5-minute kind of fire starter thing, those kinds of things. So I want you to start thinking about some part of the call agenda to be something of what would help you do the things that you do to enhance, so that this call, while it's really great to talk to all of you once a month, that we can provide an value add for each other. So I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to just open it up to all of you to talk. And keep in mind, I used to be in sales, so I'm okay with uncomfortable silence for a really long time.
Am I unmuted? I'm unmuted. So lots of different things to talk about, lots of different things. I don't know where to start, and I don't want to get fall into the trap of monopolizing the conversation. Do we want to do any updates on where things are at as far as the storytelling initiative goes, Celia?
I think that would be helpful. Sure.
I wanted to let her answer.
Because in the spirit, of doing, something you said earlier, Tyler and Avery and I have been continuing to push forward with the storytelling stuff. We haven't been waiting for Kaufman or anybody. We keep doing stuff. So we can chat about some of that. We've got feedback as far as the ESHIP. Was everybody here at ESHIP? Tiffy, were you at ESHIP? No. So there's stuff about that, and as far as talking about what's on the agendas for calls going forward, I know Tyler and I and Avery have talked about that too. So I guess what I kind of wonder is, I've got updates on where we're at, ideas on future agendas, debriefing from eShip. What would be a good place to start?
Follow your energy.
I'd say start with eShip, so that way Tivy has a frame of reference as well.
Okay, so as far as the storytelling, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because it has the potential to really get in the weeds. As far as eShip goes in the storytelling initiative, it really, I think the main stuff happened on the Thursday afternoon at the hackathon, and to me that was a little bit of a loop. I basically, with those canvases, kind of felt like that exercise kind of felt like starting all over again, because I ended up having to explain to the people in my little table of what the initiative was and why it's about ecosystem builders and for ecosystem builders versus for entrepreneurs, and most of that time was spent explaining the initiative, EV Hub, the people that have been involved in it. So it was a little bit frustrating as far as that goes. But that said, there was some good content that came out, some good ideas that came out that needs to be incorporated into projects going forward. And so I think Tyler, unless you have something, I'm happy just leaving that where that is.
Right on track. Keep going.
Okay. As far as where we're at, so, and I kind of feel bad in a way because it's like Tyler and Avery and I just kind of keep pushing forward with this. And I know you said, Celia, that you don't want us to wait, but sometimes it feels like, do they really mean that? So we had a call last week and talked about the NRP involvement with Storytelling Initiative, because I know that there are some groups, NRPs, that are very interested in supporting the Storytelling Initiative to some degree or other. And we chatted and really came to a firm consensus that there needs to be a broad coalition of NRPs it shouldn't be just controlled by one NRP, basically. And that's partly because of what you said. It weaves through all the different initiatives, all the different goals, all the different initiatives. And there'd be concern if one NRP led this and funded it, that it could get too biased and controlled by one NRP. So we think that it should be a broad coalition, whether that's SCN, co-starters, forward cities, conveners, lots of different people playing. Every goal represented would be awesome. And that way we could form kind of an editorial board or a board of directors or something to help make sure that storytelling is fair and equitable and represents all of the goals.
And consistent.
Yeah.
As well.
So
Because you're talking about a business, when you're talking about something that big. So
that's one reason I wish Christine were on the call, because I know that's her purview, is the NRPs. So that was a big thing that we came away with. The other big thing is we've actually taken EB Hub to a new level. We've actually incorporated it as an LLC in Delaware. What that means beyond that, I don't know. We did that last Friday. So it is actually becoming a legal entity. And how that impacts things is to be seen. What else?
We figured it would help to expedite any opportunities or, who starts doing it was to just kind of put ourselves into a position, and by ourselves, it's Jeff, Avery, and I right now, but to have an entity that could enter into a legal agreement with somebody should they be ready to cut the checks and go from there.
Basically establishing a third party. So, and the idea is that at some point we can incorporate as a nonprofit, but LLC is the quickest, fastest way to become an LLC. So
it took an hour.
Yeah.
It literally was an hour, like a couple $100, and we're like, "Hey, welcome to Delaware."
What was the name?
It's the name of the LLC is Ecosystem Builders LLC.
Yeah, it was actually available in Delaware, so we took it.
So I think, and then as far as ideas for agendas for other calls, Tyler and I have had lots of ideas. Editorial content, I think, doing an editorial calendar. I think, Cecilia, your idea about getting other people involved and helping to kind of create the content, I think is kind of what you're saying. So get an Alistair or a Norris or somebody from each of the goals come in and do a fire starter and foster conversations around a topic. Could be an interesting way to go.
It's a nice way to present the other goals into the storytelling group and give all of us an opportunity to think about how would I tell that story?
Yeah.
How would I address that particular goal? Is that what you're hoping for, Cecilia? Or
well, okay, so I want to touch base on a couple of things. So the initiative 4.4, right? An Ecosystem Builders Storytelling Hub is an initiative that has been recognized and prioritized by the community as something that needs to happen. When I talk about storytelling in this particular call, right, with all the different lenses, I feel like, so what I want to be mindful of is EB Hub and that particular initiative is a piece of storytelling. So that's Jeff's update of here's where that project is heading, knowing that it is a rendition of the project, which we hope will resonate with enough people that it becomes a curated kind of like the medium or whatever, that people will also continue to share stories, whether or not it lives in something else. So if you're writing stories about things that are going on in forward cities, communities, that you would share, if you so choose, with EB Hubs, so that it would just be another avenue for added exposure, right? Just like co-starters write stories that are about the co-starters communities, and they are shared, and SCN does too. So that it becomes an expanded voice. As far as this particular call, labeled storytelling, is concerned, I think it would be, in my mind, a great opportunity for, like, Beth to talk about the PSA initiatives that she's working on in Goal 6 that are translated very loosely or intentionally as a form of storytelling, right? So she can update on that initiative that lives. So maybe in the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes of a call, you tell us what's going on with EB Hub, 4.4. If somebody else has another 4.4 idea that is in a different lens, like the case study one, 5.2, a repository of case studies, right? It is a way that storytelling is done in a metrics way so that they could actually update on this call the same way. Does that make sense? So it's the different ways that we tell each other stories, and the different audiences that we share. I don't know past that, like, what else this is, but maybe it also helps to talk about best practices and how do you engage wider audiences, and, have you thought about this? And I'm not sure what that exact content is. I think that's where we've had the discussion among the ESHIP team, that some of that needs to be brought up by you in the community. Like, what do you need? What would help you? And how can the rest of the community, all of us, support? If it's something that the foundation can help support with, that we would bring. Like, if I could get Matt Puzzle down, he does all the videos around the Kauffman Foundation. So if you've seen a video on the Kauffman Foundation website, chances are Matt had something to do with it. And he's very talented videographer, storyteller, great. If there's some thing that we could go, hey, Matt, will you come down, get on a storytelling call and tell us about something that you're working on, or what's the best way to do a video of whatever. I don't know. So
I guess I'm a little confused. Are you proposing like we turn it into like a mastermind? Are you proposing we have AMA sessions, or is it still a project management group? Because to me, it's a project management group. It's where there are people working on Goal 4. And last we spoke, and that was the one that you weren't with us, but we reported, was each one of the people that was kind of already working on Goal 4 had been here, et cetera, kind of stuck their hand up and said, I'll be the person that reports about initiative 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4.
Okay, I saw that.
That is still, that's still a project
that's
management portion. So I guess my question is are you proposing something new? Because to me, this call still has a purpose, even though you guys are still trying to read all the homework that we completed. I don't want to turn this into an AMA and start having guest hosts and,
so keep in mind also.
Go right ahead.
That
I'll mute.
Keep in mind also that was the Goal 4 call, right? And this is not the Goal 4.4 call.
Yes. So this was the storytelling. So, okay. Which is not Goal 4, I understand, but to me this still was, this is not Goal 8, it's actually, but this still has portions that go through across everything. So to me that would be, so are you saying we start having a schedule of reporting where people are coming back from the separate goals to Goal 8? Is that what you're saying? To give opportunities for other stories to be identified? Or I guess I'm confused. I just don't really know,
So my question is also, like, what is this call? So in my mind, when we created this call, right, it was to talk about how we tell stories with the ESHIP lens. And how we tell stories around all 7 goals are done very differently. It's not simply the goal 4.4 call. It's not about just that.
No, I don't. No, I'm not saying it's a 4.4 clone, but this still is the project management group to accomplish providing storytelling resources to all 7 goals.
So I think I see 2 distinct things there, and I think they're both have valid validity. I think there needs to be a project management component to each of the initiative calls and to the goal calls. But I do, and so I think that's what we've been assuming it is. But I think there is value in hearing other people's stories. But I think that's a different thing versus one project management call. Am I hearing 2 different things there?
Yeah, and I think what we're trying to flesh out as far as the project management piece goes, if there needs to be a separate time, an additional time, where it's just people working on projects, talking about where they're on projects and discussing that. As far as this themed call is about all things storytelling, whether you are storytelling about case studies or storytelling about the ecosystem to outward audiences, as PSAs and global awareness programs would be.
I think you may get that on each of the initiatives. Actually, storytelling is a little different in some regards because it crosses so many things. But I think each of the things is going to have a project management component and a broader collaboration, feedback, peer group kind of a thing. And so I think that might be something that you and Coffin might want to bounce around ideas about a little bit, and maybe
that's what we're and definitely what's formulating and will be shared out. Keep in mind, we talk about onboarding new people or people that weren't at ESHIP, like Tivy, right? Mm-hmm. You will always have people that are interested in new. There to be an inclusive community of people who are just now learning that they are part of ecosystems and ecosystem building. There should be a place and space and grace for that to happen.
Not proposing otherwise. We're just asking for clarification.
So there is, yes. So there is, I think that there's like different segments. So that's what we're trying to flesh out, right? So the segment on talking about projects and whatever, keeping in mind that the project stuff that's going on, it's exactly what you modeled, Jeff. So what's going on with the 4.4 initiative that you, Tyler, and Avery are working on? So let's keep visibility, alignment. So these calls, because we always talk about how horrible silos are, right? Mm-hmm. So we want visibility, alignment, possibly coordination and collaboration. Or I don't know, we're having this nuanced discussion about cooperation and coordination, semantics, and definitely different, right? So mass collaboration is the big hope. But mass collaboration doesn't always need to happen because there are things that need to get done, as you well demonstrated, and there are things that are going on that we may not know about. So the whole idea of this call is about visibility. And then hopefully we're not duplicating the wheel, right? Like recreating the wheel. So that's where the alignment comes in, where we can work in tandem. Beyond that, whatever you're doing, which is exactly what you and Jeff, Tyler, Jeff, and Avery are going on with the project. And then you come to the community and you say, here's what's going on with our project. Mm-hmm. So there's an update. And then everybody in the community is kind of aware, hey, I know this thing that's going on. Maybe I have something to contribute, or maybe I have a question, or how do I get involved? I mean, those are things that can be discussed. All right. But
that's a third thing.
Well, but how can I get involved? That's actually between you and the people that are interested in your thing. It doesn't necessarily happen here. Beth, I'm sure you have a lot to say. You've been off of mute and we've taken up a lot of time. So.
No, that's okay. And I think universal support, how are we going to get universal support? It's through storytelling. And it's in my mind, and we talked about this at ESHIP in our little side meeting, communities across the country, economic development systems historically do not tell their story. They do not advertise. They do not market. And people with ideas on a napkin in a garage don't know that there's a whole ecosystem of support out there for them. General citizens across the country and communities don't understand what entrepreneurship is or why it's important. And if we're ever going to sustain our work and we need to gain universal support, and we need to do that through storytelling. So 6.2 is the Global Awareness Campaign initiative, but it is, I think, very, very key to storytelling. Or why are we not calling it, are we calling it Goal 8?
Mm.
Because again, I think it's really its own thing. We talked about this at ESHIP too, about, I really feel we need to stand up an organization, and if it's EB Hub on steroids, or if it's its own new organization that's, for lack of a better name, the PR firm for ecosystem building, and supported with resources by various NRPs, and becomes the clearinghouse for storytelling around entrepreneurial ecosystem building, whether that's in building global awareness or whether it's helping ecosystem building networks connect. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So, Tibby, what interested you about the storytelling call, and what do you need from a community, or what? Okay, so there are two things. What do you need from the community, and what do you contribute to the community in the storytelling frame? So, what interested you?
Well, when I first started attending the calls, I was with Forward Cities. I'm no longer with Forward Cities. I was running marketing and communications there, and just saw the need for storytelling with my role. I've since transitioned to doing consulting for different organizations that are either supporting entrepreneurs or telling the stories of entrepreneurs. So I guess I just...
Yep.
Hold on, my phone was ringing,
Okay.
and it cut me off. I'm looking for a community to plug into, just to either share stories, share resources, figure out how to do this in a more productive way to influence some of those narratives. And increasingly, I'm thinking about placemaking for entrepreneurs, particularly in Durham and also the Rust Belt. So I really, in a lot of ways, I don't know what I need other than a community at this point. And what I can contribute, I'm a really good thought partner. I have 15 years of digital marketing and communications expertise, so I can think about how to support the initiatives and organization in that way. So at this point, I don't know what I don't know. This is what my second call in 4 months. And it sounds like things have rapidly changed over the past 4 months.
But they've changed, but they've not changed, right?
So, Tivi, I've got a question. You mentioned telling stories, but you mentioned telling stories of entrepreneurs. Is that where your passion lies, in telling the stories of entrepreneurs, or we're telling the stories of ecosystem builders, or both?
Ultimately, that's a really good question. I would probably say it's a combination of, I would say at the end of the day, it's about the ecosystem. But I might also leverage the stories of specific entrepreneurs within that ecosystem to create a narrative, specifically around the idea of making ecosystems more equitable to diverse populations or underserved populations, and also the idea of placemaking and reframing the narrative of areas. So for example, one of my clients is in Pittsburgh, and they're a media company that's all about telling the story of innovation in the Rust Belt. And we're also working with different organizations out of West Virginia, trying to think through how do we reframe the narrative of West Virginia as a potential tech hub for tech talent. So thinking about how to reframe the narrative of it's mostly from an entrepreneurial ecosystem perspective, but also just like a business development perspective as well.
Yeah, those things
I
you
don't know if
just
that
mentioned
answers the
sound.
question.
It does. Those both sound very much within the domain of telling stories of ecosystem building and ecosystem builders, which, in my mind, well, as far as the goal, storytelling initiative from early on, like last August, the thought has been that it's about telling the stories of ecosystem builders, which inevitably has, you know, threads of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs woven through it, but it's primarily to bring ecosystem builders together. And what you just said very much fits that, I think.
Okay. Yeah, and a lot of, like, this is new. Like, this world is new to me. Like, I didn't even know. I may have said this on my first call. I didn't even know this was a thing until like last year. I just knew I was interested in the entrepreneurial world and like how to make the environment better for entrepreneurs and what are all the pieces that are. I didn't know this was a thing.
Let me ask another quick question. Do you like to write? Do you write? Are you publishing
I
content?
do write.
Be careful.
Wait, is this a trick question?
No. Well,
You're about to get signed up. You're about to get recruited.
We want to. It's. I'm finding it tough to find contributors, ecosystem builders to contribute, and I'm not the only one finding this problem. CoStarters is having the problem too, finding people to contribute stories about ecosystem building. It'd be great if you want to write and contribute stories, and we can get you plugged into not only EV Hub but perhaps CoStarters, and start sharing your
covering up Tyler's picture.
What did Todd Tyler do? I missed it.
It's like doing this. I'm happy to write. Actually, I don't know what I'm getting myself into, but I have a journalism background, not an intense journalism background, but I have a journalism degree, and I've been a writer for a few years. So good. I'm happy to write as I have time.
Awesome.
We'll connect and talk offline, but yeah. Jeff definitely does bring up a particular point. That is one thing that is contributing writers, getting people, even if it's just to put their hand up there. I think I have a story. I might not be able to write it myself. Stuff like that. So I've been thinking about what you said, Cecilia, and I almost kind of hear three different calls. And if you'll stick with me for a second, here's what I'll have. I'll say this particular call, the storytelling, not goal 8, I agree should be general conversation, should be connection, introduction, catch-up point if I'm new to the group like Tivy is. This is a good point to have open, friendly conversations about what's what opportunities might exist, what have I missed, stuff like that. I think there should be a second goal update call where, like in goal 4, where we talked about potentially having a leader or co-leader as the person that's reporting up to Kaufman and everybody else as to what's really happening from the 10,000 level. And then having an organization underneath, which is individuals who have said, I'll be responsible for this one. I wonder if we could do something the same to have those goal captains report to a storytelling call to say, here's the things that we've been talking about, here's what we're working on. So it gives one person or two people the opportunity, here's what's happening in goal 1, here's what's happening in goal 2. And then that would give an opportunity for people to identify chances to step offline and help assist. You know, I need help with this, I could do that. I think that would be good. And then I really like the idea behind a best practices AMA, maybe not so frequently, but when available and when an opportunity arises that we can gather up, you know, a professional or somebody that's, you know, can really give us some interesting perspectives, like somebody from Medium or somebody from WordPress or, you know, somebody from other major stuff. I think that would be really valuable. I think not only to identify additional people to participate, because when you throw out the word AMA, you get 250 registrations. It's like, I'm in. What do you got? So it's a great way to get prospective contributors. And yeah, I mean, we could all use the help, that's for sure. You know, I definitely don't know nearly as much about writing as I would expect. You know, Tivy might. I peeked at your LinkedIn, I'm sorry. But that's kind of, that's how I would take it. I think that would be a valuable way to kind of break up this, to make sure that this call is still an open, inclusive space that says, hey, anybody wants to jump on and please do. I think I love that idea. I think that's important because of the fact that storytelling goes across everything. You know, is if you start here, you can say, look, we have storytelling. It goes across everything. Okay, well, where can I help? Well, we don't have anybody in goal 3 right now, you know, and they've got some stuff coming. You know, they could use some help. You want to go over there and maybe make some new friends? That's, I don't know, an idea. But all right, now I'll shut up now.
What do you think about that, Beth?
Sorry, I'm having trouble unmuting. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I don't really have much more to add. I'm a little bit, I do think we need a mechanism to keep people updated on what's happening in the other goals. And I know we have the videos that we can go back and listen to, but that's pretty time consuming. So if there's a way to summarize the calls or summarize what's happening on the goals, maybe even just on a quarterly basis for people.
The TLDR report.
Yeah, that would be really helpful. Because it all is related, and the storytelling group needs to understand, especially, but everyone else, you know, just to make those connections and be as efficient as possible in this very chaotic space.
Tivy. And I just looked to see who owns TLDR.com, and it goes straight to Tumblr, by the way.
Your question is, how do I feel about the proposal of the 3 different calls?
That, or what else do you have to contribute, or do you think it's a horrible idea and you're never coming back? Whatever you got.
I think it makes sense, but I mean, my knowledge is like this much, so it makes sense at this point. I do want to add, I'm not sure I have access to all of the different resources. Like, I don't know where to like listen to the old calls. I have access to an ESHIP Storytelling folder, but there are only like 3 documents in there that I don't think have been updated in a while.
Cecilia's typing the beta dashboard in for you right now. We're all
okay. 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 Awesome. That's all I got.
Jeff?
I like the idea of 3 calls too. You know, even as I was asking you if there were 2, I was thinking there's 3 really, because you brought up that one is there needs to be a mechanism to welcome new people who are interested in participating in, and as a general thing. So I like that, those 3 things, 3 buckets or 3 types that Tyler came up with. I know it's an organizational nightmare to do that, but realistically, you know, I think there's a need for it. If all this stuff's going to progress forward, I think it's needed.
So I think what we're trying to come up with is the solution to house those kinds of, so what's been identified and percolated and bubbled up is there are parts. What we're trying to be mindful of is how much do each of the parts, how much time does each of the parts take up? Who is the audience for those individual parts? And how can we incorporate that in something where not all of your day is spent on a Zoom call?
Right, right.
So I think, and this is not set, and again, this will be shared with ESHIP champions for feedback, is we feel that there's a good way to keep the whole community updated on what projects are actually happening out there. So visibility, right? The visibility pieces. How do we share some of the project canvases? Do we point to them so you can go and look? Keeping in mind that not everyone in the world is involved, right? There are some people that are interested, people that learn about it, want to know more. Maybe that they live in the dashboard where click on it and find out what people are working on. If it's reporting, the alignment and reporting piece that you talked about on goal 4, which I listened to and I shared as input. Yes, there needs to be. So again, visibility and alignment is just like a TLDR, a minute, right? I'm working on this initiative. Here's where we are. EB Hub has incorporated, we're doing this, we're seeking this, whatever that is, for like an nth of time. If there's future collaboration, cooperation, coordination that's happening, that you see a need, there really is no reason for me to be involved, right? You can talk amongst yourselves. You have, right? Hey, will you hop on a call with me? I have some questions, or I want to be part of, or whatever that is. That's how mass collaboration happens. It doesn't happen only in this space, right? So there's that. And then as far as the resources, is it that content person can come in occasionally? And we're talking about in the next couple of months, an occasional call. Let everyone know, hey, by the way, we're going to be talking about this on a call, or we're helping to coordinate. If the community says, hey, you know what would be really helpful, and I think it would not only benefit me, but other people may be interested in, that can bubble up. You can help curate that, right? It's co-hosted or co-collaborated or whatever. And then, I mean, basically providing a Zoom link or whatever where people can jump on. Those are things that are absolutely help in supporting. And then where I think there's a new member onboarding, or there's, you know, just community building and getting to know other people in the community, and maybe it's a topic call or something that either takes place on a monthly basis or takes place on an occasional or as needed basis to say, so we're actually talking about, I don't know, inclusion, right? Inclusion in a way that encompasses not only goal 1, an inclusive field, but maybe storytelling from an inclusive lens, and then getting engaged with the practical metrics and methods and saying, hey, what are you solving for in data that helps to coordinate this story? And then there's some universal support mechanism of what other groups can we get involved in this. I mean, so it could actually be a cross-pollinated theme, and we can infuse. So I don't know, but those are different things that could happen. A lot of potential.
Yeah, so I'm curious, and maybe you'll talk about this the ESHIP Champions call, is what kind of, I assume you've had similar feedback in discussions on the other Go calls, and so I think it'd be interesting to hear what the consensus from all the ESHIP champions and everybody is around this. Just a thought. Yeah, there's so much collaboration that needs to be done, and there's so many different levels. There's high level, there's there's detail levels, like you said, where we're going to go do some work. That's and Avery and Tyler and I haven't shied away from, okay, we're just going to get a call and do stuff. And I think that's kind of a separate, really detailed thing. And if somebody else wants to step up and join us, we can include them. But there's updates, there's new members, there's cross stuff, there's AMA educational opportunities, there's all of these things. Good luck figuring this out.
Sounds like you're starting a company to me.
Well, so actually, reaffirming the commitment from the Kauffman Foundation, reaffirming the roles of Christine and myself as community activators, and knowing that things need to happen and things can be supported. So a lot of that being, so when at the ESHIP Summit today, when the Vice President of Entrepreneurship got up on stage, he named the things that the Kauffman Foundation committed to, right? That's, we're going to have another summit. So the dates are the end of June, beginning of July, just so you have it saved on your calendar. They've committed to supporting Christine and myself in supporting the field. So knowing that Christine and I, while we consult for the Kauffman Foundation, because the Kauffman Foundation supports the work isn't, we answer to the community. We support the community and what the community needs, right? So we are community activators, and we help with the coordination, collaboration in certain ways. What we're here for, and what these goal calls, and I think we don't call them working groups, because we're not actually working on the calls. We're actually meeting up on the calls to discuss some of this stuff, right? So what do we do? And I think those are, like I said, we talk about visibility. If we can help to ensure more visibility of yourselves that are doing the work in the field, the work that you're actually doing, the alignment, the connectedness between all of you who are working in custom and bespoke ways in all your respective communities. And then if you're able to coordinate and collaborate, that's absolutely fabulous, right? I'm not here to make you hold hands and sing together or whatever it is that people think that we're here to do. We talked about being part telephone operator, part air traffic controller, part guardrail holder, those kinds of things. And in doing that is to try to ensure that there's more visibility and alignment and hopefully coordination and collaboration. Does that make sense? And hopefully that's what we're doing. Okay, well enough that you'll keep us around and you'll still keep engaged. And then you'll let us know, like, that didn't work for me so much. And believe me, we've had plenty of those too, right? Like, oh my God, can you believe you did that? So, and we keep trying and we keep figuring it out. And then we gotta, so I will ask you in the last minute, maybe it's a lot to ask her in the last minute. We did this exercise just yesterday, talking about the ESHIP Summit. Okay, so as far as this stuff goes, what do we start doing? What do we continue doing? And what should we stop doing? And I will popcorn to Beth.
Mute myself. Okay. I'm sorry. Can you ask the questions again?
I'll type them. So start, continue, stop.
Start doing, I think, maybe communicating more one-on-one with each other when we've got common goals or agendas. What should we stop doing? I'd like to see less talking about how we're going to do things and more doing. I'm a doer, and I've got a lot of things I want to do in support of this, but I don't think I've found my tribe necessarily yet around the global awareness campaign. So I need to do some work on that, and it's hard. I think everybody knows it's hard. We're all ecosystem builders, so we're super busy, and so it's like moving your brain from ESHIP to your community to ESHIP to your community. It's not easy to blend the two, even though it might seem like it should be. So I'm rambling. I will popcorn over to my friend Tyler.
Thanks, Beth. Your video and article will be done this week, by the way, too. So we will get it posted. Jeff, you're getting so excited every time I do that. Jeff's just happy to have help. Start, continue, stop. I think we should start doing an overlaying goal update call. I think that would be very, very helpful. If we do the third one, great. I think we should continue to have this call for sure. I think it should continue to be the starting place for anybody looking to figure out storytelling. You know, if it's related to 4-4, if it's just storytelling for a particular topic, or it's just how do they contribute, like Tibby is trying to find out. We're going to talk. My last 18 months has been where you're heading. So, and then stop. Yeah, just stop. Stop waiting. I think everybody can take something and own it and start running with it in the way that you know, Jeff, you know, and Avery and I have for our particular things. You know, we're not doing it in the expectation that we've already won something. You know, but like any entrepreneur, you got to grind and you got to work and you got to set aside time. And you know, I never had a startup I made any money off of for the first 2 years. So as far as I'm concerned, Cecilia's got another 10 months. So I'm kidding. But you know, we still got plenty of time, you know, to go before, you know, me personally, I'm looking at storytelling as you know, a success or a failure, and you know, continued investment on my part. You know, so you know, I'm going to put in work. Like I'm expecting to sell it for $10 million. You know, so that's me. I just want to find out how to share the best stories. You know, where, who needs the most help first. You know, Beth has an immediate need and reached out, and I would love to see more stuff like that happen, where somebody raises their hand and goes, I need help. I need somebody to write a positive story on my behalf, or my community's behalf, or my so-and-so person's behalf. They need some third-party validation, you know, et cetera. It'd be nice to have the A-team, right? You know, it's just call us in and here we go. And it's taken care of. You got your money. So, yeah, I think stop waiting around. You know, I'm really excited to hear what's coming through, and I'm excited to see what the champions, you know, report back on everything else and go from there. So thanks for putting up with me. Jeffrey. Actually, no, Tibby. I heard you enough, Joe.
All right. I'll say for a start, and this is more commenting to myself, like just start engaging more and collaborating and getting sorry, my dog is acting crazy and she's really distracting me right now. So start just engaging and collaborating more. Continue. I appreciate that you guys are holding space for people to just jump in and try to figure out how they can get engaged. So I would say just continue holding space for new people. And then stop. I don't know about the stop. Maybe stop being so hard on ourselves in general and just do our best. I don't know, that's generic, but I think it works. Jeff?
All right. I've got this long list. It's going to take, no, just kidding. So I'll start with the continue. I think we continue with this call. I think there's definitely room for it. So it's kind of echoing what Tyler was saying on that, in that regard. I like the idea of a goal update call as well. I also like the idea of occasional topic-based webinars that you brought up, Cecilia. So that would be under a start. I also think as far as start, and maybe maybe rephrase this as a stop. Kaufman It's a start. Kaufman, look, I'd like to see Kaufman use their platform more to get more people activated and plugged in and contributing. I don't know what that looks like. We get occasional newsletters out to the ESHIP Summit attendees. But I think they could do more to get people plugged into the respective goals. I'm frustrated trying to get people to contribute stories. So I'd like to see Kaufman and NRPs as well try to get more people jazzed and pumped about contributing this. I mean, everybody at ESHIP was pumped about it, and now we've all gone home, and I'm worried that the energy's dying. So I'd like to stop waiting and do more to promote that, I think. Two other things, Beth, I think you and me and Tyler should get on a call and chat about Global Awareness Campaign, and let's just start doing it. Let's not wait. And one other thing going way back earlier, I wanted to just make sure that something Celia said, I don't necessarily equate EB Hub with Goal or Initiative 4.4. So I think EB Hub is an MVP, and it was our attempt to get stuff doing, but I don't think that is the whole storytelling component of ecosystem building. So I think there are other threads out there. There's room for more, but yeah, that's all I got. And I don't have the popcorn to anybody, do I?
Nope, you
No.
actually do not. And we're doing the call in the morning, not in the afternoon. There were more responses for the morning call. It will be so the ESHIP Champions call, and only just to clarify, is the first blush at what we're seeing as the need, trying to
I don't have that.
all those needs. And then I will send out a Zoom link. I will send out the notes of the proposal. So whether or not you're on the call, you will have time to submit comments and suggestions, and then we'll host a call, videotape it, and then we'll put it out there. So all of that to happen. Thank you all for your time and generosity. Appreciate it. And we will just keep doing this stuff and let me know what else you need. So
one last question, Cecilia.
Okay.
Where can we send people if they're interested in getting involved, and not necessarily ESHIP Gold Champions, but anybody? Is that the dashboard? Is where can we send people if they're interested in getting involved?
So depends on the extent of their interest, and we're putting together the emails for the post attendees. We're putting together emails for everybody in the ESHIP community. The one thing that they can do is they can go on Kaufman.org and sign up for the newsletter for entrepreneurship. That will tell. I will tell you that part of the thing that takes a long time is those have to go through several channels to send out an email. Foundations work in that way.
Yep.
So then if they have an immediate, or if they want to be involved in the community kind of generally, what's going on in ecosystem building, what are people that care about this stuff is, there's the Facebook page. The Facebook page is a good way to just get your feet wet, meet people that are talking about stuff. One day I need to write more of the best practices and things like that. So obviously we want to check that people aren't bots. If you invite them to the Facebook page, please make sure that they know that you invited them and that they answer the questions that are posed. The reason that we ask those questions is just a filter to say, are you a real person, right? And then the other thing is that I have a hard time, and because it's not actually defined, I really do have to help write it. I mean, when we came on board, there weren't norms or behaviors, or we don't want to put in rules, but best practices are like, don't sell stuff on the Facebook page. If you post something that talks about the work that you're doing, that's one thing. If you post stuff that says, this is my program, product, whatever, for sale, that's not something that we encourage. So we want to keep it from being that kind of community. The Slack channel.
I was just going to ask the Slack channel. You're
So
gonna
the
link to
Slack
that
channel
somewhere,
is really great for them to be invited to, for like, I want to get in deeper discussions. I have questions. I want to talk to people who are content. Like, let me tell you, that Goal 5 group with the practical metrics and methods,
They're nuts.
oh my gosh.
They
Good
are.
Lord, they're nuts.
So they've gotten to the point where I will glance at it. I don't understand some of it.
Yep.
That's okay, because they all do. So good. It gives their different channels. So there are different parts of the Slack. The beta dashboard, which I just pointed Tibby to, that's just where we try to house a lot of that information. If
And
they're
that's open to other people besides ESHIP champions?
absolutely.
Okay.
Those are
It's
open.
open now? Okay. Because I haven't been sharing it with anybody. I've been
It's
keeping it
actually
internally
for-
to the eShip.
No, so it's anybody who cares enough about wanting to learn more and be engaged, right?
Mhm.
I don't think it's for everybody.
Mhm.
Like, if you just want to casually talk about ecosystem building, but you don't do, that kind of the stuff that we do now. Like there's a bunch of people on this call specifically. They geek out and can talk for hours about what ecosystem building, good, bad, ugly, like, oh, and this works and this doesn't work, and you should see what so-and-so is doing, and there's this whole language, right? So that's the
I know what
thing.
you're talking about.
Okay.
So,
That helps.
does that make sense?
Yeah, that
So there's
helps.
different levels of engagement. If they're really curious, send them to the beta dashboard. You may scare the crap out of people. Like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, there are people in this world that get on monthly phone calls, and more than one,
Daily.
to talk about this thing.
Daily phone calls.
No,
Bunch
no, no.
of freaky geeks, right? So, all
Okay.
right. Thank you.
I got to run, guys. This is awesome, though.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Tibby,
Have a
I
good
look
day.
forward to connecting with you.
Yes.
We're gonna
All right.
talk. We're going to
All
talk.
right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Thank you.